A little bit the presentation because of your presentation, just a bit. It was a great presentation. I don't know if we have to cancel the conference right now, not going to next year presentation conference, go for some drinks and have some hacks together. But it was a great presentation and great introduction to my presentation, in fact, because I've been working in advertising and media for the last 11 years, so I see every day how AI, algorithms, bots are transforming the whole industry, the advertising and media industry. We say in our company, my previous company, I will explain my story right now, that everything that can be automated will be automated. So advertising, for example, and media will be absolutely automated because of algorithms and bots. We don't know exactly, but between 50% to 80% of advertising today, I mean, the displays, the impacts that we, in theory, have, are fake. Because of robots, because of algorithms. So the hot topic today in my industry, my previous industry, in media and advertising, is fraud, it's transparency. You can imagine how the technology is transforming an industry that worked very well for the last 50, 60 years. And my presentation is going around this. Thanks, Jens, for the invitation once more. This is my second year, my third presentation. Thanks, but sorry, because I changed my presentation last minute. I changed my presentation last week because some changes in my professional career. I left my company 1 week ago, so I had to change the presentation. I had to change my speech. In fact, I changed the title in the agenda. The title they have in the agenda is not the correct today. I'm not working anymore in Avas Media, so it's a communication and media agency. So my presentation today will be no concrete examples, no concrete cases, not figures, but my experience, my 20 years experience. In fact, this month I'm celebrating my 20th anniversary, professional anniversary. I started 20 years ago in Kantar Worldpanner in market research. Then I moved to the client side in marketing. I work for a German company based in Düsseldorf, Henkel, fast-moving consumer goods, cosmetics and detergents. And for the last 11 years, I work in Avas Media, in communication and advertising, always related with market research. So you will see my 20 years of experience, how I see communication, how I see advertising, how I see marketing, and how I see market research because of transformations like Jasmine has mentioned before, and my recommendations for the market research industry. I'm going to use Don Draper and Mad Men metaphor as a metaphor because I think it's a great example of how we can explain how the whole industry, marketing, advertising, and market research has evolved in the recent years, how an old industry is trying to evolve and survive, again, because of the revolution of technology and digitalization, because our industry, marketing, advertising, and market research work like this. I mean, we were the bosses, we were the kings, we told the clients, the consumers what to do, and the consumer did what we said. They bought what we communicate, what we put into the market. The consumer was a little bit stupid, don't you think? Today it's not like this anymore. I think, can we say that this marketing, mass marketing approach is over? Do you think it's over, has changed? We can say yes, because the big guys, the new tech and digital guys has appeared, the Googles, the Apples, the Amazons, all these big guys are transforming the way that we understand marketing and communication and also market research. We can say yes, this marketing approach is over, or maybe not. Maybe this marketing model is still working. This is a 600 billion industry, very strong, still working. Think in your company, think about in your companies how you work. Maybe has not changed that much. If we come back to the media industry or the marketing industry, we still have a brief from the client, right? We sit down together with the client. We have a brief. Has to be a good brief. We saw a presentation yesterday talking about briefings. Then, in my case, in our case, from the media and agency point of view, we have some time for inspiration. I don't know if your company, I don't have a sofa in my office, but it used to work like this sometimes, but you have time for inspiration. Then we can have some market research, like this, some focus groups. Maybe we can introduce new technologies. We can introduce some new technologies thanks to the mobile, VR, geolocalization. So pretty much new models, new technologies, but more or less the concept is the same. We try to get insights from the consumers and from the client, right? Then once we have insights, those insights drive some inspiration for our strategies, for our marketing developments, for our advertising new campaigns. So we try to transform insights to strategies and new developments in terms of products, for example. Finally, thanks to the insights and the market research that we get from the consumer, we have a new campaign. We have some billboards, we have some prints, we have some TV campaign, we have some displays. We can go to YouTube. We have some whatever type of advertising or new communication that we can imagine. But the process pretty much is similar and it's the same. Then we expect that our consumers see our TV breaks, our displays, our YouTube videos, and then the consumers go to the shops and buy things, our products. Yes? Then, if it works, if we demonstrate that it's working, that we are selling more, it's time for celebration. The agency, together with the client, it's time for celebration and some awards. This is how it used to work, and it's how it's working maybe today. So pretty much it's a very simple model. I say it's clearly an input and output model. When we have some input, we have a new product, we have a new label, we have a new design in the shelves. Maybe we have some advertising, we have some promotion, and then we expect sales, we expect brand awareness. So it's clearly a very direct relationship between one input and one output. And from our perspective, from market researchers' perspective, it's very simple at the end. So it's just understanding the relationship, the direct relationship between inputs and output. So it's not that complicated. Yes, this is how it works. The marketing, the mass marketing model, the advertising industry, and also market research industry. Understanding the inputs, understanding the outputs, and then trying to correlate one to the other. If you don't agree, please you can jump in then and have some questions, maybe at the end, whatever you want. But just raise your hands. But we have computers, we have algorithms, we have the digital revolution that is transforming fundamentally the business, the value chain of the whole industry, the marketing, advertising, and I think also the market research, as we have seen in the last presentation. It's not Excel sheets, it's not this direct relationship between inputs and outputs. It's not just direct, because these guys, these software guys, these algorithms guys are really ruling the world today. So we have seen the example of Alexa. So imagine how you think about how you are buying today, how you are consuming music today, how you are consuming tourism today with Airbnb. So algorithms and software are really eating and dominating the world. So we have to understand how this affects the whole market industry, the whole communication industry, and the consumer habits, because of that, because the algorithms and because of the digital revolution, the relationship between consumers and brands has completely changed. And this relationship between inputs and outputs is not that easy. It's not so direct. So the complexity now for us is understanding this new complexity between inputs and outputs. And coming back to the media industry, or the marketing industry, see new players that are appearing in between. This is new players, technology players, digital players that in theory are adding value. But maybe it's not value, maybe it's adding just complexity. So we have to understand this complexity, how it's affecting the relationship again between brands and consumers, and between inputs and outputs. and how market research has to understand this new complexity. This is the scene just some years ago. This is the picture of marketing and advertising tech in 2014, how it's evolving the level of complexity, and this is the complexity today. As you imagine, the complexity in 2 more years. Layers of digital, layers of complexity, layers of new data that we have to understand if we want to really, again, dominate this wall of inputs and outputs. So we can say to Don Draper and Matt Menz that maybe data and technology is the new addiction for marketers and research guys. It's not bourbon anymore, it's not the old-fashioned cocktail for Don Draper, it's that people are really obsessed about data. Everybody's talking about how we have to understand and dealing and managing data, different sources of data. But from our perspective, from market research perspective, we really have to understand the different types of data and sources that we have today in our hands. Some of them, we have seen examples from the last presentation of Just Meet, data that is coming from new things that doesn't exist some years ago. And we cannot imagine the type of data that is coming in the following years. So we have to understand this new data, how does it fit in this new ecosystem? Again, understanding the inputs and the outputs of the whole ecosystem. If we come back to the media and the advertising industry, data is coming from the consumer. So it's not the media that is generating data, it's the consumer that is generating data. So the consumer is the audience. So it's thanks to the smartphones, thanks to uploading videos, commenting things, the consumer is becoming the media. So new data coming from the consumer. We're starting to generate data because we are just quantifying ourselves. So, and again, there's a new type of data that we have to take into account in the whole ecosystem if we want to understand the relationship between brands and consumers. Less paid, we talk about paid media, own media, earned media. Paid media is our massive communication, one direction TV, the traditional one. So less and less paid media today that was generating the traditional GRPs, for example, that were very easy to measure and then correlate with the output, with sales or with brand awareness. But today it's not only paid media, it's earned media. Consumer is commenting, is posting, it's doing like this, likes, not likes. So we have to understand this type of data, how it's generating, how it's coming from, and how it's affecting then the metric that we want to evaluate. Less visits to the shops, more deliveries, more e-commerce, and as we said before, we've seen before in the presentation, no shopping list, more buttons, more virtual reality. But this is new data that is transforming market research. This is new data that is transforming marketing and the way that we understand the whole ecosystem. So this is very complex. It's becoming very complex, I think, for our point of view. So at the end, it's a digital blueprint. Our life is becoming a digital blueprint. So we have to understand from the very beginning of the day, when we wake up until we go to sleep, we are generating new data that has to be understood in the whole marketing and data ecosystem. Can you read this? Anybody? Yeah, put your glasses. No? Yeah? Easy? It's not that easy, but just almost 1 century ago, Gertrude said that everybody gets so much information all day long that they lose their common sense. Maybe it's what is happening today when we try to understand the whole picture of data. We're trying to be obsessed with the data ecosystem today. So my recommendation today is just keep calm. Keep calm and back to basics, because maybe it's not that complex. Maybe the methodology are complex, maybe the technology is new, but the fundamentals are the same. Maybe the basics that we have to understand as a market research professionals and marketers are the same. Again, it's come back to the input and to the output. I try to correlate the input with the output. Maybe it's not that difficult if we come back to the basics. Maybe it's the same picture with a with a different color. Maybe it's just an evolution. So maybe it's the same basic, the same concepts, just evolving and transforming in terms of methodologies and technologies. Nothing else. So we have to understand evolution from the traditional data that is very structured, very limited. If we think about the amount of data that we had, it's structured and limited, to the new big data ecosystem. So it's unstructured, it's very granular, it's huge in terms of amount, so it's not limited anymore. So it's coming from social, mobile location, search on web, biometrics, virtual reality, artificial intelligence. So it's the new ecosystem of data, but again, it's just a new way of getting data. It's data, don't be scared. We have to understand the source and then the implications that this data have in this in-out relationship between consumers and brands. So it's from limited and well-structured to more granular and structured and huge amount of data. So this is the transformation, this is the evolution of the data that we have today and that we have to understand. But if we go back and come back to the basics, at the end, there's nothing else than consumers, competition, investments, journeys. Maybe you have to add some layers of digital and new technology in the terms that we get the information, but again, the basics are the same. So don't be scared. I mean, and then the evolution is try to simulate the implication that we have in the outputs. So it means how we attribute all the activities that we have, how we forecast sales, how we forecast brand metrics, and then for the advertising industry, for example, how we transform the way that we buy media and how we deliver media is the programmatic thing. I don't know if you heard about this concept of programmatic media. But again, it's the same concepts, the basic concepts, more complex in terms of information and types of sources because of the digital thing. And then the simulation, this is crucial, how we simulate the implications that we have in the metrics that we want to demonstrate, sales, brand metrics, etc. Just adding some layers of new technologies and information. Maybe nothing else, just an evolution thanks to the digitalization. But what I see is maybe in the companies, in your companies, in the client side, in the market research side, in the agency side, maybe there's nobody understanding the whole picture. Maybe there's nobody really understanding everything together. Maybe he's not a specialist, maybe he's an informed generalist. We have a lot of specialists in the companies, understanding search, understanding social, understanding mobile, but Don Drevi is not understanding anything. Maybe you have to say to Don how he has to recycle to the new world. Maybe it's not Draper, the guy that has to understand the full picture. Or maybe yes, it's just a question of how he can recycle, understand the new ecosystem. I have to say to Don, just keep calm, just make it simple, but make it significant. So try to understand the whole picture, the relationship between our inputs and outputs, obviously understanding how digital is evolving and transforming the way that we get the data, but if we make it simple and significant in terms of insight, the really insight that we need for understanding the relationship between brands and consumer, maybe Don will be, again, the boss, will be the big guy in the companies that can understand the full picture. It's what I call the data strategist. I mean, we can evolve from madmen to mathmen, or maybe these guys that can understand the full picture. As not a strategic planning, but a data strategic planning, understanding everything together. This is what I see is missing in most of the companies that I've been working in the last years, not only in the agencies, but also in the clients. So the type of figures that try to understand the whole picture in terms of data and the implications with the brands and the consumers. So just to sum up, what I see is the data of these data strategies. So it's time for somebody that understands the whole picture in terms of data, that really manage the whole thing, understanding the full picture. So it means a combination of qualitative and quantitative understanding. It's a combination of understanding a massive amount of data with more granular, structured but also non-structured. Also is a guide that tries to predict the potential business implications because of this new data. So very important today to forecast and predict implications, to simulate the actions that we take in terms of marketing, advertising, etc. So it's not only understanding, so it's simulating and understanding the implications. And finally, it's also an importance of the tempo. So it's understanding the implications in the short term, but also in the long term. So it's not only in the implications in terms of business. Most of our companies are very focused and obsessed on the short term. But with this new type of data, we are obliged to understand also the long-term implications. Otherwise, the concept of brand, in my opinion, will disappear very, very, very easily. So again, short and long term, different types of data, the whole picture. So data strategy maybe is the new data, maybe is the new type of unit that we need in all of our organizations. So it's how we will need to manage different types of data in the near future. And maybe we can come back next year in the conference. Maybe we don't kill the conference if we really understand the whole picture, and we can have a great conference next year if we succeed. Thanks. That's my presentation. If we have any question, please don't hesitate to raise your hands, and I'll be more than welcome, more than pleased to.
There are a couple.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, so people in the room would like to know what is data overload? Can you have too much data?
Why?
Can you have too much data?
Yes.
What is data overload? Can you?
We have so much data. So much data coming from different technologies, different methodologies. Our behavior, because it's becoming digital, so our digital behavior in our lives is generating data. And in theory, we say that it's the new goal area. I mean, it's the new gold, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just complexity, that we are adding complexity in our understanding of consumers. So the big thing today here is to really understand what's the important data and just remove all the other one. So that's what I say. That's when we need data strategies that think about the good data and the bad data. It's not all data that we generate every day. It's relevant for our purpose. If we want to understand consumers, if we want to forecast implications for marketing side.
Okay, great. And we have a handful of other questions that you can answer afterwards.
Sure.
And again, they will be cascaded out. So thank you.
Good.
Thank you again.
Thank you.